think about what questions you might want to ask and have those prepared for later. Thanks, everybody. And then I'm going to pass this off, and if I could have my panelists introduce yourselves, say your name, kind of where you're from, what you're working on in the startup world, and then what also got you into entrepreneurship in the first place.
Awesome. Hey everyone, nice to see so many faces. My name is Roma. I'm actually from San Jose, so I grew up here, but I'm in San Francisco now. I'm the founder of Gavi, which is a savory energy drink. It's basically a powder you put into hot water for just like a super kind of nourishing, satisfying way to energize. You know, a little different than traditional sweet energy drinks. Other question, what got me into entrepreneurship? So I actually used to work in the tech industry, so I was a product manager at Salesforce, and it was more honestly kind of getting tired of the same old, like, cool, okay, I have this big tech job, like what now? And yeah, saw a need, decided to try to fulfill it, and here we are now.
Hey everybody, my name's Ryan. Really cool to be here. There's a lot of you. A little nervous. I thought there was gonna be like 20 of you, but there's more than that. So I'm super happy about that. Yeah, my name's Ryan Quinn. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a junior at Santa Clara University. Studying business management. Me and my co-founder Eve started Linamar Ventures. We're a venture builder for student startup founders, and we've been doing that for about 9 months now. What got me into entrepreneurship? I think I started my first business around 13, and since then I was kind of just hooked. Just absolutely loved it, the creativity. It's just such a cool thing. Started investing when I was 14, and been just doing entrepreneurial stuff ever since then. And then started this with Eve just last year. So, and then a little about me. I love surfing. That's actually where the name of our company comes from, Linamar, our favorite surf spot. So that's why I came to California.
Hey guys, sorry. My name's Eve, like Leaf without an L. I am a senior at Santa Clara University. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I started Linamar with Ryan 9 months ago to help other students out. I got into entrepreneurship from doing everything from shoveling snow to making iOS apps, so I just wanted to help out other students. So, really good to see you guys. This is super dope.
It wouldn't be a SpartUp event if we didn't have the awkward shuffling of the microphone back and forth. But I want to kick it off because our topic today is just student entrepreneurship. So we have 2 students here and a recent graduate. I don't know if it's just my perspective, but it seems like entrepreneurship in the college and university ecosystem right now is super popular. There's a lot of people that are interested in entrepreneurship, a lot of things going on. You see in the news all the time, somebody from X university raised Y amount of money and dropped out for blank company. So just to get us started, kind of, if you're either a current student or in your past student life, like what were you involved in at your university? How did you take advantage of it? And kind of what did you think was the most valuable kind of help that you got on this journey so far?
I'll go first. I think what's most helpful for us was just being around other students. It wasn't necessarily like any particular university program or anything like that, though that was super helpful, but just being in an environment where there's tons of people with lots of ideas. And then I also think seeing someone do it at like a high level and then being able to be like, oh, like they're not this, crazy, like impossible, person you put on an idle. You're like, this is just a dude. They made a plan and they started executing it. So I think that's what it would be for me.
Yeah, for me, I think it's getting connected with whatever resources are available for you. Like, it's a great thing that you guys are here. We've been kind of blown away by the amount of support. People love supporting crazy big ideas, and so we've just been chatting with people, and it's really cool to see how many people want to help out.
Okay, I'm not quite a student anymore, graduated a few years ago, but I'll share, I guess, kind of what my approach was in college and how that went. Yeah, totally agree on the kind of network/community aspect. I feel like you're always like a sum of who you surround yourself with. So being around, in organizations like SpartUp and things like that. The other thing I would say is as someone who made a complete like industry shift from computer science and from the tech industry to CPG, which is consumer packaged goods, so like food, beverage, things like that, I would say anything you can learn or anything you subject yourself to that like makes it hard will always kind of benefit you in whatever endeavor you choose. So like taking the hard classes, doing the hard things, like studying something technical, because then you know, like, okay, if I'm able to survive this engineering degree or this really intense other degree, or I'm able to spend so much time, working on this project, you can apply that anywhere. And I think at the end of the day, being a founder is just being relentless. So you can do that in any industry, as long as you have like the willpower to do so.
Thank you all. All of that was fantastic points. Being on the other side of the university incubator or university entrepreneurship system, I've seen firsthand just connections and how much that can help somebody, especially maybe not a specific task or a specific thing that they got help with, but just that belief that like, hey, these people that have successful startups are just like me. They don't have some intangible, quality that is preventing me from doing this. I can also run a company. So kind of going next steps from that, what was like the first thing you did in your venture? Was it like buying a domain, talking to people? Like what was the first kind of few steps that you took, and how did that pan out?
You guys want to start first? Okay. Okay, great question. I feel like the first thing for me was to verify if the problem I was solving is actually a problem. Because I was like, okay, I have this idea, but like, is it just me? Is it 10 people? Is it thousands? Like, what is the actual kind of impact this idea could have? So my first step was kind of just to ask everyone about it. I was like, what do you think? Like, would you use this? Since my product was an energy drink, I was like, going after all these like energy drink users and like anyone who was like, yeah, I drink Celsius or I drink Alani Nu. I was like, tell me about your experience, like what's working, what's not. So I feel like really just like validating / getting feedback on your idea is always like a really good first place to start.
Yeah, for us it's the exact same thing. Like literally just go chat with people. So as soon as we had the idea of what we wanted to do, we're like, oh, we want to help out student startups. We hit up like every single teacher we knew, and we're just like, tell us why this is a bad idea. And then we just kept working on it continually from there. And then I guess tangible next steps after that, like get some kind of presence up, like our website up, and from there we can just, you keep chatting with people and you keep getting these little increments of improvement, and then that's more credibility that you can bring into the next conversation that you have.
Yeah, I remember when we first started to, beyond just the teachers, we just started chatting with student founders and we're like, what do you guys need help with? Like what would be valuable for you? And we learned a lot through that, and we've pivoted and changed a bunch since we first started. But yeah, it's really about just starting. That's the biggest thing. That's where most people kind of fail. It's like they have a really good idea and they don't take that next step, because that next step is really hard and really scary. Ethan and I had the idea actually driving to surfing, and we were just like fascinated with venture capital, and we were like, gosh, it's such a hard industry to break into. And we had the idea of like, what if we just did it ourselves? Like, what if we didn't have to break in? What if we just like built it ourselves? And then from there, it's just like, let's just talk to people, figure out where we can go with that. So, yeah.
We have, you're kind of on opposite sides of this ecosystem, being a company that potentially will get invested in or has been invested in versus investors. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like pre-getting money? Like a lot of people feel this hurdle of, I need to raise money. I have an idea, I have to raise money, and that's kind of their next step. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like before doing any of that? Like, you haven't raised money. Can you kind of speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So yeah, initially when we started, we wanted to just kind of put our money where our mouth was. So whatever we did have saved up, we just started putting that into these different student companies. And then once again, just building up that credibility, building up that track record. Yeah, I think just, whatever you do have available to you, making that useful, reaching out to people. yeah, then from there, once you kind of get a little bit of momentum going, then you can just pivot it into like bigger and bigger steps.
I mean, I was just gonna say, I guess you don't have to be worried. Maybe I was misunderstanding the question, but like, you don't have to rush to get funding. If that's what you kind of mean, like, do it when you're ready. That's not the first step. I think a lot of people immediately have an idea and they're like, okay, I have to go raise $1 million. It's like, no, like you were talking about, test it out, talk to consumers, figure out what you're gonna build, and then build as much traction and get as much like tangible metrics out of the way. Investors love data, so get as much data as possible and then go and raise money.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think, at least what I've learned is that funding is more for scaling more than like starting, I would say, unless you're trying to build like the next Neuralink or something and you're not a neuroscientist yourself. But yeah, I really think it's for scaling. Once you have your core business model down, you know who your customer is, you know like this product's gonna work, like this is how it should be made, like all that, like cool. Now it's all set, now you should take it and like run with it and like grow as fast as possible. I think that's where kind of more funding aspect part of it comes. Until then, definitely recommend just bootstrapping as much as you can, whether it's your own funds. We did like a family and friends round, so we did get a little bit of funding just to get like our like recipes made and do like a pilot production run and things like that. But yeah, that's I think one thing I've learned, you know, it's almost like once you're at that stage, investors will come. So that's also like an interesting thing that I noticed.
No worries.
Go. I just want to
Go for it.
Yeah, also on that point, like with some of the companies we've worked with, it really just seems to be like money's the grease on the wheels. Where it's like you can get so many metrics without like needing like $50,000. Like you can go chat with a bunch of people, get surveys done, be like, hey, we have 500 people already signed up. We did a survey with 200 people at our school. This is what they said. This is why they like our product. Like all of these things can be done without like an excessive amount of money. Also now more than ever, like the tools available to you, you know, whether it's Vercel or Lovable, like you can make these projects at a very cheap cost and you don't need all this money. And I think another thing is like, there's a lot of pressure for startups to be like, I need funding, but it's like, maybe you don't, and that's okay. Like, if you can just start making money, just start doing that. Start helping out people, start helping out your customers, you know, you might not even need it.
Those are all fantastic points. One thing that I think is pretty interesting about the whole kind of venture capital investment landscape is pretty much like you said, it's like grease on the wheel or gas on fire. You have to be able to go to an investor, whether it's a venture capitalist or if you're taking out a business loan, especially like we have the pipeline to make this improve our business. Like this is going to solve a problem that will increase scale, and we can 10x this. But if you have nothing to 10x and there's not a clear problem that money will solve, then you're kind of coming in not the greatest position. Moving on from the investment side, did it feel almost surreal when you did your first investment or first like big product purchase? Was that a scary feeling? And how did you move past that? Like make sure you're making the right decision? How did that feel?
I don't think we made sure, like, there's some extent of like you just have to go, like it's scary, those types of feelings happen on like a daily or weekly basis, so like you're gonna make mistakes. I think a big part of like building a startup is literally just acknowledging that and learning from those experiences. I mean, even like getting invited to come to this event was kind of surreal because I'm like, what the hell do I know? Like, we've been doing this for like 9 months and we're still very much trying to figure stuff out. So there's a lot of complicated emotions with building it. It's like, it's exciting, it's hard, it's scary, and I feel like definitely imposter syndrome sometimes too, like being at an event like this. Like I said, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna contribute here, but I hope maybe that's a perspective that's valuable, that you're probably gonna feel that same way, so it's not a bad thing.
I think for me, it was more kind of trying to balance speed with like trying to save like money and time and resources. So like we could run really fast and make a ton of mistakes or slow down. And I feel like hitting that balance is kind of the hardest part. There's no like moment where like we're like going all in, like this is so like surreal. It was more like calculated risk taking. I guess with that comes a bit of the surreal kind of experience. But yeah, we definitely burned like thousands of dollars, had to like redo packaging or reorder ingredients that didn't work out or things like that. But I guess all part of calculated risk, or just see how much risk you can take without having to like close up shop basically. So I'm not sure if that really answered the question, but just my experience.
Yeah, no, I think, no, okay, cool. One thing that's hard for student founders or somebody that is a first-time founder while being in university is doing things. There's a lot of fantastic ways to, discussion boards, clubs, you can hang out and talk about ideas. But the actual action part, and like making that first step, making that first scary decision, it's a really big hurdle for a lot of folks. What is like, in your opinion, this is very opinion based, but like, what's the best decision you've made for your startup? Like, what was that one thing that you were like, this is awesome? This was a fantastic choice.
That's a tough question. I think just being like super, my mom always gives us advice. She's just like, do the thing. So just being very action oriented towards like, okay, our goal is to invest in student startups. Like, let's literally put it on our calendar where it's like, we're gonna invest in someone, whatever that means. You know, if it's a really small check for the first one, that's okay. It's still progress. It's still doing something. So I guess just for us thus far, granted we're only 9 months in, right? But being very action oriented. So it's like, having a long-term vision of where you want to be, and then just trying these different feelers for what works, because each thing you do, you'll start to be like, okay, like, in this business model, maybe this is working out well, but not quite here, and you can just kind of just keep hitting all these walls, and you'll eventually find your way through. And we're still very much in the wall hitting process, but yeah.
Yeah, kind of to add on to what you were saying, I think getting super granular, like having a huge goal, like I want to start a venture capital fund, and then figuring out how to work that backwards to be like, okay, what does that mean that I have to do today? Also, Google Calendar, like I'm not kidding, block out time on your calendar for classes, for working on your startup, for exercising, doing whatever you need to do. I think time management is extremely important when you're trying to be a startup founder and a student at the same time.
I think these two can probably agree with this, but I would say like choosing like the right team, whether it be like a co-founder or people you kind of get to work with you. I know personally for me that was like one of the hardest parts, like finding like who's gonna be like all in with me. So I have one co-founder and then a bunch of other people working on like operations and things like that. But being able to like convince someone of your vision and them also going all in, I feel like is a really important skill. And if you can do that in college with your friends or find someone that you would really love to work with, I think that's amazing. I think it's a really good start also.
Those are all fantastic points. I'm going to share two kind of stories that tie back into that. The first is when I first reached out to Eve, I sent him a message on LinkedIn. I got just his LinkedIn kind of profile from a friend that had got it from a friend. So I have no idea who this is. I reached out to him, we connected, and I was like, hey, do you want to talk about doing this? And you sent me your Calendly link, and the next available time was like less than 24 hours away, which I was like, awesome. Like I want to, book this as soon as possible. I want to lock him in to come speak at this event that we're at right now. I want to give him as much time to make sure that he can make it. And kind of being in the startup world, that like really quick availability is super important, I think. I really think highly of someone when I see that they're willing to like meet right away, get something done right away. Once you know them a little bit better, it's okay to say, hey, I'm busy that day, like, can we do this another time? But that really stood out to me. And then on to the point you made, I've talked with one of the StartX associates, which is the Stanford Accelerator program, and I asked him, I wanted to learn about how to run an incubator, and I asked him kind of what's the split of solo founders, 2 people founding teams, 3-person teams, like how does that look? And he kind of laughed at me a little bit. He was like, oh, we don't really have solo founders. Like you're telling me the founder can't sell the idea to another person. And I thought it was a little bit cruel, maybe. There are definitely solo founded companies that are awesome and do very well. But his point was like the CEO and founder is a salesperson. You know, you want them to be able to sell the company to a co-founder, to a purchaser, and anything like that. So I'll stop rambling here. After this next question, I'm going to open it up to Q&A. We'll have about 20 minutes for Q&A, so start thinking of some questions. But just to kind of wrap up here, what do you recommend somebody does? And this is super broad, so take it kind of how you will. But like, what do you recommend somebody does that wants to start a company? They're a student right now. They maybe have an idea that they need to validate. Maybe they don't have an idea at all. Like, in your opinion, kind of what are the next steps? How does that look for them? That was a super broad one. Sorry.
Yeah, I can start though. I feel like this is not even really good advice, but like just start, like do something is better than doing nothing. I remember when I first started, like I was like, okay, I guess I'll start with the recipes, and I was like making the recipes. But I was like working on like once a week. I was still working my tech job. And it's honestly like a snowball effect. Like you get one thing, the recipes are locked down. Now let me figure out food safety. Okay, that's locked down. Then you just get more and more excited. Everything starts going faster. Like it's really like all about momentum. So I feel like you just have to start. Like I remember the first few weeks I was like doing recipes in my kitchen. It was like excruciating. I was like, this is so boring. I'm doing it alone. Like I'm tasting the same thing over and over again. Like is this even gonna work? Like how am I gonna do packaging? Like I haven't thought. Like there's so many doubts and so much like stuff that kind of engulfs you if you think about the end result. But just like do something. Like literally start somewhere, and then you'll kind of see the path light up as you continue.
I would say the exact same thing. I think I remember when I first like started coding when I was younger, so a couple years ago. It was literally like I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and then you just start, like break down in super small steps. Like I didn't know how to code, so I was like, okay, a YouTube video on how to make an iOS app. You watch that, and then as you start doing it, you'll start getting more specific with your questions that you're asking. But if you just really break it down and like, you know, just being action oriented, just start doing stuff, and then it'll kind of come together. Yeah, and then obviously talking to people. Are you solving a problem? You know, and being open to, you know, if you keep running into you keep chatting with people about your problem and they don't really see it's a problem, like being ready to kind of pivot or, you know, close down shop and start another one. But just begin.
Yeah, first of all, shameless plug. Talk to Ethan and I as a good first step. That's our whole business. Is trying to help student founders, and we love talking to people. So we'd be happy to talk to any of you guys. And then again, like our motto with our ventures is literally why not now? Because like they both already kind of mentioned, like you just have to get started. I think a lot of people who are in college have this mindset of like, oh yeah, I do want to start a business, but first I want to go graduate, then I want to go get an MBA, then I want to go get 10 years of experience. It's like, no, like just do it now. Why not now? Like just get started. And even if you fail, like you're probably gonna learn a lot from that. So it's worth it.
Thank you all. I'll tie this together with some of my own insight / experience. My first kind of venture was pretty much a glorified newsletter that I was selling. I was in high school. I had a lot of friends that were into reselling shoes. None of them made any money doing it. But I saw that they were paying other people a lot of money to learn how to do it. So I looked into it and I put together some information and eventually turned into kind of a real business. But the one thing in the back of my mind the whole time was like, I knew that other people had better information and a better product than I did. But I knew a lot of people that were in the space, which turned out to be my kind of competitive advantage, is that I could get people to promote it in their kind of network among their people, get special kind of deals for the people in our group. And I just kind of put it out there, and I was like, if people pay, that would be awesome. I didn't think anybody would pay, but people paid. And the whole time I was like, I don't know why they're paying, because my product is not, in my mind, as good, but the value must have been there. The marketing must have been there. So even though I didn't entirely believe it, like 100%, it was 100% worth it to just put it out there and kind of see what the market said. So that being said, I want to open it up to questions. So how we're going to do this, if you have a question, I invite you to come stand at this podium, right over here. Does anybody have a question? Come on up. No? I can bring the microphone to you. Is that easier? Okay. Well, you want to just say it?
Oh, I guess.
I'm confused. Well, wherever works.
Oh. Hi, I'm Dulce. I'm a sophomore. I want to be an entrepreneur. I've been wanting to be an entrepreneur since high school, always coming up with random ideas. But I feel like one of my biggest challenges is finance and support and kind of like, how do I know you guys say like just start, but like I feel like one of the biggest things is just like that investment, and like what if I invest it and it doesn't go well or whatever, and how would like if it doesn't go well, like I'm gonna lose money. So my question is, you guys did mention that funding shouldn't be a problem, so can you kind of just like elaborate on like how did you guys get the funding? How did you guys know that the money you invested, you know, went well? Or just like the funding and like the financial part, like what would you guys suggest for me to, like where to start? Like do I go to a bank and ask like a loan, or like, you know, what's your insight on that?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's a lot of ways to kind of test your idea without spending money. I don't really think we spent like any money the first couple months, honestly. Like maybe like $10
on
yeah,
the domain.
on like Calendly, or yeah, like on our domain or something. So it's like, you know, you can probably hopefully find $10, and then just kind of like test it out, and if it's to the point where you can raise funds off of that, then that's when you want to go for it.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what your idea is, right? Because if it's like, you know, I want to do like all this biotech stuff, like obviously there's a lot of equipment and stuff you need, but you know, just get your idea formulated, you know, and start just shopping it around to people. You get surveys done. You'll be great to talk about for this, of just start, make it in your kitchen, you know, give it out to people, see what they think. And then once you kind of get some good metrics, you know, if you do have any money available to you, you know, no matter how small, like you can put it towards that. And like honestly, with the money we put in right now, like I don't know if it's gonna pan out yet, you know. I don't. I hope it does, but just, you know. But worst case, I think it's like, you know, we put in this money, but we've been able to meet a lot of great people in this space who will hopefully help. You know, if this doesn't pan out, you know, something different in the future. But yeah, just looking for like cheap ways to get it going. You know, website domains are like a couple bucks. Yeah, there's lots of resources available.
Also like grant funding or like pitch competitions. Once you have the idea formalized, like put a pitch deck together and start like going to competitions and trying to get a few $1,000 that way.
So they gave you like the practical answer, which 100% agree with everything you should do. I'm gonna give you a more motivational answer, which is, I feel like that feeling you have right now is like, if you can get over that, that is the difference between someone being an entrepreneur versus someone not being an entrepreneur. Like, no one knows. Like, we still don't know if our venture is gonna succeed. Like, you can never know, and it's all about like, can you get over that like mental inhibition to just like start? Like, I quit my tech job. I was like, that's so much money, and like, I was completely set, I got my degree, I was living in hires and I stuff, everything, but like, I was like, no, I need to do something else, like, I need to give up this lifestyle to like, go after something that I think is gonna be greater. So, I feel like that's what it is, like, that doubt is gonna continue until, like, forever, like, as long as you're gonna run your venture, so, it's almost like you can't get rid of it, but like they said, just incrementally, you know, make steps that you can still recover from, and just kind of keep going from there.
Thank you.
Thank you for starting us off with that question. Just a note for everybody here, the competition idea is fantastic. There are multiple competitions that happen in San Jose State every semester in departments. Like we hold competitions ourselves, mostly in the spring semester, but coming up is the Silicon Valley Innovation Challenge, SVIC. If you Google that, you can find information on it. There is literally no reason not to apply. Like, even if you have no idea right now, you should apply. You can get thousands of dollars, and it's a one-day commitment, so it's a very high return on investment thing. Does anybody else have a question? I'm gonna start up here and I'll go to the back after.
Would you like me to go to the podium or am I?
No, you're good.
Alright, perfect. Hi guys, my name is Hassan. I'm currently working on like a passion project of mine that I love very much, but I find that the hard part is getting a team of people around you to help delegate tasks. So what is kind of the right way you guys went about finding, one, the right people around you to help you out, and then two, having them, like convincing them to join you without having major monetary compensation? That's kind of like my major.
Good question. I can start. So I feel like you can have to section off into like what are like creative tasks and what are just like tasks that are like blocks you can just ship off to someone, they can do it, and like their kind of ability to do it well doesn't really matter. So for example, what I mean is I take my website developed. I just put a job on like Upwork or Fiverr, things like that. And like let's just like black box this and like get it done. So I feel like those are like really good options, like using like contractors or like those like sites that have specialists, but you don't need to like bring on a whole person and either pay them or give them equity. It's more like manageable amounts. For the more like things that are, okay, what should our marketing strategy be? Unless you want to pay like thousands and thousands to like some marketing agency, that's where you need to find like a co-founder, someone who like kind of aligns with your vision. Then you two together, because you align with the vision, you know that you're gonna work as hard as possible to figure out like what the correct way should be.
Yeah, first of all, I think Ethan and I, this is something that we're still trying to figure out, we're still struggling with. I think that's one of the hardest things when it comes to starting a business is aligning everyone's incentives. And if you can figure out how to align everyone's incentives, then your probability of success, I think, is like infinitely greater. So it's just about like trying to figure out what the other person wants to get out of it and trying to figure out like a mutually beneficial way. Like negotiation, in my opinion, is all about like coming to a compromise that both people can be happy with. And you know, like we talked about earlier, like as the CEO, you're gonna be a full-time salesperson. You're trying to sell people to join your company. You're trying to sell people to buy your product. You know, you're doing sales 24/7 pretty much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Someone did I point it out? And then I'll follow around.
Sorry, I'm just gonna put my thoughts out, like, it may not be the most structural question, but I've consulted for several companies. I've worked in AI with advertising, text messaging apps, and also in the critical healthcare. What I've noticed with all three companies, actually not all three, I would say 2 out of 3 companies, is that they get to a certain point. So they start up and the pace is extremely high, the graph is going straight up like this, and then what happens is suddenly the graph just flattens out, right? And this one company that I was working with, when I started out with them, they were worth around $250,000. As of last year, they were worth $2.6 million. But then now and they were direct compared to Meta, by the way. And now they're looking at an end of life strategy. So I'm just saying, especially you, since you're in the food and beverage industry, these days, as of 2025, everything is getting saturated on a daily basis. Everybody's starting something or the other. Like, how do you, basically work around this flat graph and basically avoid that? Just as an entrepreneur, I want to know your thoughts on this.
think I wish I knew the answer to that also. I feel like to start off with. I don't know, yeah, I think that's a problem that plagues any company ever, including all the big tech companies or any big company currently. Like, how do you stay relevant, right? Like, Google is getting their lunch eaten by OpenAI right now. Like, how do you kind of avoid that? And I think a really interesting book that kind of helped me think about it is actually one I'd recommend. Is like the Steve Jobs book by I forget his name, Walter Isaacs, something like that. Steve Jobs, that one. There's like a quote in there where he basically says like, if you don't what's the word? If you don't like make your own product obsolete, someone else will. So he talks about basically bringing out a product that would reduce their sales on one of their existing products, but it's so no one else does it first. So I feel like my whole takeaway was like, okay, just keep thinking what's next. Like, what can someone else do to make me obsolete, and I should get there first. And if you build a good company, a good brand, you have the resources, I believe you can always, stay on top by doing that.
Oh, okay, so you mentioned getting there first, right? So same way I think about the two sayings you have, like the early bird gets the worm and the second mouse gets the cheese. So the second one essentially means that something that somebody already got to first, like, you identify a problem in their market and then you inject yourself strategically, like whenever you find that there's a big gap there, right? Like, I'm just trying to figure, like, as an entrepreneur, when you just start out, like, how do you evaluate these things and what is your general, like, thought process as you go into this? Because these problems are very, very in front of you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna let you answer this one, but for future questions, we'll do one at a time. And you can connect, it's really good, I forgot to mention it, you can connect after, if that's okay?
Yeah, definitely, we can after.
Awesome. Do you guys wanna answer that first question? Or
In terms of, like, how do you, I guess, I don't think anyone really knows, like, how to fully validate all this stuff beforehand. I think, at least I don't, so if anyone does know, please let me know. But, like I said, I think, you can do a lot of research, you can, but yeah, I think also, like, whatever you're solving, like, making sure you're actually differentiating yourself, right? Because it's like, if it's super easy for you to make your product, right? Like, let's say you can put up your website in like 12 seconds and then make like an app on Lovable in like 12 more seconds. It's like, your defensibility there is not super strong, right? Because then like some other dude can do that in like, a couple minutes. So just like asking, are you solving hard problems? Are you actually innovating? Are you doing something that's difficult to do, right? Are you setting up like a supply chain? Have you made like your own recipe? Like, whatever it is it hard to do? And I think that can probably help get past a lot of those barriers where it's like, are these companies actually changing anything?
Thank you. I think I owed the mic.
I am an electrical engineer, so I have a product in mind, and also plan to push in a few months. And I also did some research on the market saying that it's quite positive, it's got very positive feedbacks, it's very good market. And I'd really like to know what's the best way to know it's scalable, know it's profitable.
I don't know off the top of my head.
So my degree was also in electrical engineering, so I can kind of try to explain maybe some product ideas I had in like robotics, like how I thought about it before this whole energy drink space came to light. I think you just have to do a lot of research on supply chain. I think it's actually a current problem we have with the energy drink. Just like calculating like cost of goods sold, right? And like breaking down every single part in your supply chain. At least for us, it's not just like the ingredients, but then it's the marketing budget, it's shipping, it's like stocking fees at stores, things like that. I feel like you just have to do like an excruciating amount of research to figure out like what are like all the places where I have to like basically inject costs in the system and try to go from there. Unless I guess your product is like some sort of like cost optimization, Yeah, not a great answer, but kind of guess depends on the industry, but that's definitely how I am going about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're really not gonna like this answer, but to kind of go back to what we were saying earlier, it's like you're never fully gonna know. That's why it's entrepreneurship. That's why it's risky. It's like sometimes you just gotta take a bet and you're not gonna know until you're out doing it. So yeah.
I think someone told me once to be opinionated. So whether it's the kind of music you like or the business you're starting, you get a bunch of feedback, you get as much as you possibly can, but at some point you gotta make the decision. You have to have that final say and be like, no, I actually think this is the way to do it, or I think this is a good avenue to go down. So we've got time for one last question. I don't know how I'm going to pick, but this is a good time to mention that the panelists will be available at least shortly after the panel, so please come up and connect with them. I also, with their permission, will send out their LinkedIn and their website, so you can connect with them, see what they're working on, try their products. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the person that is sitting the closest to the front. Okay, this is why you pick the front seats, y'all. There's 5 up here empty, so no one can complain.
My question is around the user market research. I mean, I have an idea, I have the skills, I can go ahead and develop it, but what did the market research exactly look like for you? Because right now I'm thinking to send out forms or surveys, but I don't believe why would somebody invest their time without any incentive, like how to go about it. Just want to validate my idea before get more effective, more motivated. Like how did it exactly look like for you, and like what tips would you give?
Is this more a question for?
For Mark.
Okay, well, I can start off. Actually, I totally lost my train of thought, so I'm gonna come back to it.
Just real quick, what kind of product is it?
It's mostly about automating and manual work with AI agentic systems.
Okay, just off the top of my head, maybe start with people like in that community who care about it, and instead of like sending out a survey, like, you know, if you got friends and stuff, just straight up ask them, you know, what they think, and then start collecting data like that. You can start getting more creative eventually, so like whatever industry you're in, like maybe you host like a get together of people in this industry, and then you'd be like, before we get started, we're gonna start filling this out. I know later in this presentation we got a QR code which we're gonna be doing, so kind of similar thought, right? Where it's just like you can get creative with how you get this data, but and also like you can just play the numbers game too, where it's like get a lead list of a ton of people and just start emailing them and ask them to fill the survey, and whatever your conversion rate on that is, it's okay, because at the end of the day, if you get 20 people to fill out your survey, that's 20 people to fill out your survey. So those are just 3 things that come to the front of my mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, getting people to fill out a survey is extremely hard. What's even harder than that is getting people to buy your product. So I saw like something like a podcast or something. It's like, you know, if you can't get like 200 people to pre-order the product and like put money down, then you should like, and maybe that's a little too extreme, but you know, it's like you kind of need to do that hard work of like getting people interested, like getting people to commit time to fill out a survey, to pre-order the product. And if you're having trouble with that, then you have to reevaluate whether or not it's something that consumers want, and that you're fixing up a big enough problem that people are willing to invest that time, money, and energy, whatever it is.
Definitely. The number one thing I'd say is just go in person and ask people. Like I literally took my energy drink and I was standing outside of gyms and like asking people like, hey, can you try this? It was actually so creepy. Like, people had their headphones in, they were like looking ugly, just trying to go to the gym. They're like, what is this crazy girl asking me to drink right now? Yeah, literally outside gyms, outside like public places, parks. We're just sampling, getting feedback. So for you, I'd say SF Tech Week is coming up. You know, like go there, like talk to people, go to events, ask them. The other thing I've seen a lot of tech companies do is they make like a fake, it's not like a real website, but like a fake product where you have all your like marketing and explain what the product does. But like if they actually go to like purchase, then there's like nothing there. It says like coming soon or something. So you could do that and like run ads and then see like how many like people fill out the lead form or how many people are just like interested. You know, set up like a tracking. If you just look up like meta ads, it's all there.
Prototype.
Sorry, what was that?
for all the questions. I want to get a big round of applause for our panel tonight. This is the part of the night where I ask you all a few favors. So we've been talking about surveys a lot, and I will ask you to do one. Before we do that, I want to get a photo with the panel in front of all of the attendees tonight. So if you guys want to stand up here, I'm just gonna take a selfie with all of us, so we can all post this on LinkedIn, and it'll be like a 100-person selfie.